Hey guys, so Zia bringing you another video. Now welcome to something a little bit different. I was kind of contemplating if I wanted to do this video or not, and I kind of decided why not. I make 2 videos a day, every day, and for the next, 3 weeks, 1 video a week can be dedicated to Arcane, the brand new Netflix series that has just come out. So this video is going to be kind of going over my thoughts of it, kind of like a review, but then also talking about like ideas and theories about what could come true. And this is just like, I'm a massive fan of League of Legends, obviously being a content creator for the game for, 7-8 years now. I love the game. And this obviously, as Riot has said, is their biggest kind of showpiece of it. That there's plenty of people that have never seen League of Legends or even heard of it. Like, I've had many interactions even recently in life that I tell people what I do for a living. And they're like, oh, what game do you play? And they're expecting, like, Minecraft or Call of Duty, ones that they would know. I say League of Legends and they have never heard of it, even though League is technically the biggest game in the world. And this is going to really help put League in the kind of bigger spectrum of people, I guess. A big Netflix series. So the first thing I'm going to do is do just a quickie, like, mini review. If you've not seen it yet, should you? Because maybe you're watching this going, I've not seen it, like, is it even good? The answer to that is yes. Even if you don't care for lore in League of Legends, like personally, I'm not big into lore. I'm really not. But I like fantasy series, like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, all of that stuff. This has a different vibe to it, but it's in that same kind of world. And again, apologies if my throat is a bit whatever, as I'm still recovering from you-know-what. So I would say you're generically going to enjoy it. The one thing that may throw some people, especially the older you get, is it is animated. My dad is actually giving it a go. So if a guy around his 60s is giving it a go when it comes to animation, the story can hold you in. And if you can just accept it's animated, it's amazing. And to be honest, I think it's better than it's animated. Better that it is animated over being live action, because animation makes you be able to do anything. Like when you're doing live action, there's all like effects that you need to make look real, where here you don't need to make it look real, you just need to make it look the same art style that you're going with throughout, and obviously they easily do that. So the art style is really nice if you like that type of animation. The audio in the series, I think, is breathtaking. Both when it comes to voice acting, I think they've absolutely nailed it, and to be honest, the music. The soundtrack, the instrumental, and even some of the vocal songs that they have throughout are amazing. And they all seem completely like original for this series. They haven't just reused or got licensed music. They've made music. And to me, it's just wonderful. And what's really nice is obviously, yes, it connects to League of Legends, but this is its own separate thing. Many people, you don't need to know anything about the lore. You don't even need to know about the game. You'll be able to pick up things here or there. But it also does give you little things. If you are a League of Legends player, there are little references, and there are little things that you'll only know or realize, or references will come true, if you are a League player. Like, just straight away, there's a bunch of characters that get introduced, but we know who those characters turn into. Like, that's the point. It's very good, but you can still enjoy it even if you don't play League. Like, if you're watching this right now as a League player and you're wondering, you haven't watched it yet, would your significant other who doesn't play League, who doesn't know League, would they enjoy it watching it with you? Honestly, I think yes. I think genuinely it's going to be very hard pressed to see people don't enjoy this type of show if they do kind of like the fantasy setting. So for me, as a mini review, I'd give it easily a 9.5 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10 so far. We've only seen obviously 3 episodes, but we've also, or I also have seen on Twitter, people who are involved in the show have basically said, you've seen nothing yet, it gets better. Which obviously they're going to say that to make people keep watching, but I actually think it might get better, to be honest, which is kind of mad. But anyway, that's the non-spoiler part. So moving forward, I'm going to be talking about what's actually happened in depth. So if you haven't watched yet, this is your warning to stop watching, go watch it, and then come back. What I also say is, please do not look in the comment section if you have not watched. I invite people to talk about the series openly, spoilers in the comments. This is an Arcane video, so I hope people will talk about Arcane and share your theories also. So episode 1 to 3 kind of goes through the very early beginnings of the relationship of Vi and Powder, who obviously Powder later does become Jinx. In this series, she is already called several times Jinx, that she jinxes things and you've jinxed it up or whatever it may be. So that's obviously where she's got the name. She is the Jinx. But it does come, like, this series has kind of layers of, it's a lot of blame always on Powder. That seems to be the kind of vibe. But the decider person who has made all of this stuff kind of happen was actually Vi. That Vi chose to go on that heist at the beginning and it messed up. If she didn't choose to go on that, it never would have happened. So Vi obviously isn't innocent in all of this. So she is trying to be a thief. She is trying to do these heists. So a lot of people, like, Powder is not to blame, to be honest, in a lot of these. She's also very, very young. So to do all these crazy criminal heists when she's probably like 12 or something is also a bit like, So it's a very interesting dynamic. Obviously, opening up that you've got, like, you have Piltover that's very rich and technology advanced, and it's like upper class, I'd say. And then you have obviously the Undercity. It's very interesting. The contrast to it, it's literally the most on the nose thing you can say about the difference of classes. Like, they're up there, you're down here. It's literally that in reality. And to me, it's absolutely brilliant. And obviously we got the backstory of there was a war where that's obviously where Vi and Powder have lost their parents. And then the character Vanda sees these two girls have lost everything. He looks over, the parent's dead. Obviously would have been friends, I imagine, with the parent. And he realizes then it's not worth it. So he puts down his gauntlets. Later he gets them back, by the way. Like, he put them down, picked up the girls and left. But obviously he goes back there later to pick up his gauntlets because then they're in his bar. But anyway, he then becomes obviously the father figure to these two girls. And he puts down his gangster ways, his warmongering ways, and just has a more peaceful life. And obviously is the kind of rock to the community of the Undercity. And obviously later we find out he has a deal with the enforcers to kind of keep the peace, which obviously that only works if everybody does what they're told, and obviously even Vi doesn't. But that's kind of consequences of not telling everybody we have a peace right now. It's the secret act, I guess. So I would say Vanda was a very interesting character, and straight away, if we're going to go into some theories, I don't think we've seen the last of Vanda. So obviously episode 3, jumping straight to it, ends in Powder messing up. She's finally made one of her contraptions work, and it results in 2 of the friends dying straight by that explosion, and Vanda having to then sacrifice himself to help Vi not die. He takes kind of the purple juice and becomes a monstrosity himself. I don't think we've seen the last of Vanda. Now, the biggest theory going, which it just makes complete sense, is Vanda is very likely to become Warwick. So the champion in League, Warwick, he is probably Vanda. So there's a couple things that kind of back this up. So in the lore that we have already in League of Legends, Warwick is said to be a result of an experiment by Singed, and Singed is 100% confirmed was the scientist of the gangster. We never hear Singed's name, but if you're watching with subtitles, occasionally subtitles will say which character is speaking if they're out of frame. Obviously, we will be able to hear watching the show if someone's talking out of frame, but if someone's deaf, they don't know someone's talking, so they have to put the subtitle to that, and Singed has his name is there. So that is Singed, the mad chemical scientist. And Warwick's backstory that we already have in League is he's an experiment of Singed. And the only things that Warwick remembers from when he was a man is 2 things. He remembers waking up and there's like a burning factory, and he remembers a crying girl. All of those were in episode 3. And secondly, 2 more things that actually are within League of Legends is the voice lines that Warwick shares with Jinx and Vi is on the lines of, "You were there, who taught you how to punch?" And to Jinx, it's kind of like a line that's about blaming her. Finally, people did notice in the skin of Project Warwick, if you zoom in on the face of Warwick when he just is about to base, literally the last millisecond of when that character, when Project Warwick is basing back, you see the human face it looks like Vanda. So it's very likely it is Vanda under there. or will become there, and that's going to be a very interesting dynamic later in the series if the girls do find out that that is their father figure, has now been made to be a monster. And obviously it looks like this series is going to progress, that episode 3 ended that Jinx, or Powder, is become Silco, I think his name is. She's now going to go in a gangster route and obviously become that Harley Quinn Jinx type of character, a bit crazy, embrace the craziness there. And Vi has been taken by an enforcer to Piltover, where obviously she does actually become an enforcer character herself. And they're obviously going to have clashing, crime versus police, I guess, enforcers. But they might come together to, when they potentially, I'm guessing, they see the Warwick thing, they realise that's their father figure, and they realise who was to blame for that is the gangster, well, the gangster scientist technically, but they'll probably go after Silco or the bad guy together. That's what I'm guessing this series is going to turn into. But obviously, we don't just have the Jinx Vi storyline, we also have, which I'll be honest, I knew they were in this series, but I didn't think it would be a completely separate storyline. Obviously, it's a bit like Game of Thrones, that we have these separate storylines, that we've got the Jace Victor storyline, we even have Jace and Caitlyn a little bit, Heimer's in there. Right now, that feels completely separate to the Vi and Jinx storyline. But like Game of Thrones, that they have different storylines, there will be a time that they all come together. And obviously, that's going to be probably in fruition that Victor and Jace have made, obviously, Hextech. But obviously, we know that Victor is not Hextech based anymore, he is Chemtech based. Now, what's the difference between Hextech and Chemtech? Well, I'm guessing that Victor probably separates from Jace in a disagreement of what they want to use it for. That we've already heard Victor wants to help Zorn, the area of Zorn, which I think is the region that Piltover is in, where Jace just wants to help Piltover. Probably there's going to be a disagreement there, and Victor probably takes the research that he has away and probably, let's be honest, goes sides with Silco. He can fund him, he has the technology to help him. So that's where Victor's Hextech will become Chemtech, and that's where Jace will probably stay with Hextech, and we know Jace will eventually become a Piltover hero. So that's going to be where those two start to shift. So that's bringing in their storyline of Vi is now going to Piltover. She's going to become a Piltover citizen, becomes an enforcer. Caitlyn is also an enforcer eventually. And Jace gets exonerated by actually making Hextech work. So that's where they're going to link up. And then Victor links back up with probably joining Silco and then Jinx's side until potentially Jinx moves back over to help. So that's where the storylines, in theory, should mesh back. But it's very interesting. So the one thing I'll say, obviously, I think the series is a solid 9.5 out of 10. The only thing is, obviously, I've given a lot of prediction to this series. And that's my thing, is if I'm right, the series isn't that unpredictable. It feels like it's quite predictable. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's trying to set itself as a mystery. It's not like a murder mystery show. You're just enjoying a story. And I don't think it's bad that sometimes stories are predictable at all. And maybe, again, let's see how correct I am. Obviously, give your theories down below. Like, that is my theory, is the two sisters are now going to separate Piltover and Zorn, technically. Because even Silco, the gangster, was like, he wants the rise of the Zorn Empire. That's the exact same thing that Victor wants. He wants the revolution. He wants the revolution that he was from the Undercity. We learned that. And he made his way up because he's that smart. But he's always been seen, thought down upon. He wants the revolution there too. So those two characters just mesh, and those technology will come together to be Chemtech. It's probably that purple stuff combined with Hextech. That's probably Chemtech. So it's going to be a very interesting dynamic. I don't know why, but I think the really big thing for me will be seeing if Warwick does come true. The one thing I'm guessing is we're going to see some type of time skip. Because obviously, Jinx, as the character that we've seen, is nowhere near the age of Powder. Like, it's at least 5 years, if not more, down the line. So I don't know when that time skip is going to happen, considering they're doing the show in 3 acts. We've just had Act 1, Episode 1 to 3. We're then getting Act 2, Episode 3 to 6. Then Act 3 is Episode, technically 7 to 10, or something like that. It's like 3 episodes, 4 episodes. They could do the time skip literally in Episode 4. 5 years has passed. Vi is now an enforcer. Here's Jinx being like a crime boss type thing. Jace obviously is now up in the academy and quite high up. They could do that time skip now. I'm guessing we might get that time skip in episode 5 or 6. That I'm guessing episode 4 is going to see right after the effects of what just happened in episode 3, or at least part of it, and then we'll get the time skip. That's what I'm hoping and guessing, because it would be a bit jarring to go from episode 3 to be like, right, we're not seeing any of the repercussions from that, straight to a 5-year or 10-year time skip. I do hope we see a little bit of what the after effects are, because like the Undercity surely is now going to be in shambles. They've got Vander's now dead, he's gone, and then his backup guy, the guy that's like was Echo's father figure, the store guy, he's dead too, and he was the backup guy. So both of those two big characters down there are no longer. So isn't there going to be chaos down there? Are we going to see that? And yeah, obviously I didn't even think Echo is obviously as a kid is in the show, and to me, obviously he's going to come in somewhere. Obviously we did see like a boy that looked like Echo in the marketing the material, and people like, oh, is that Echo? And obviously yes, it is. And what really makes sense about Echo, and it's just so good attention to detail, is why does Echo, obviously with Hextech in his future, get time powers, and why does he care about time powers? It all makes sense because of what he's seen in his past. So Echo, as is the little boy, if you've been, paying attention, he's all about watching things. He watches things. He follows people. Like, he's very observant. And he's obviously watched a really traumatizing thing of when his father figure got killed. So Echo has time powers to fix things. That if something goes bad, he can rewind the moment he's just witnessed, because that's what he's about. He watches things. He'll go back, make sure that doesn't happen, and then continue time. That's what Echo's whole psychological brain is about now, is because of the events he's seen, he doesn't want to let those bad events happen again. So that's really interesting, and it goes really in depth to his character, and I love that. It's fantastic. So I think that's pretty much my summary of episode 1 to 3. Honestly, it beat my expectations a lot. I just thought it was brilliant. Like, I didn't watch it at 2 a.m. because of just being sick. I am falling asleep really easily at the moment. I woke up about 8 a.m. of the day of it coming out, and I watched all 3 episodes as soon as I woke up. My plan right now, I will say, is I'm not going to rewatch, I don't think, any of the episodes during the next couple weeks. So I've done episode 1 to 3. I'm going to leave it there, and then I'm going to watch episode 4 to 6. And then I won't watch any again, and then I'll watch episodes 7 to 10. And I'm going to watch them all once each. And then I'm going to do a complete rewatch of the series altogether. Probably not back-to-back, because that would be like probably about 8 hours worth of watching stuff, and that's a lot of time. But yeah, that's kind of my plan. Let me know how you're watching it. Like, I know there will be some people out there that, a lot of people when it comes to like Netflix series or series in general, they kind of want to wait for it all to come out and then they'll binge watch it, because it's like, oh, episode 3 just happened, you want to know what happens more, but now we have to wait a week. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are some people doing that, but it's going to be very hard pressed for people in the League of Legends world to avoid spoilers. That's the thing. But yeah, really happy. The only thing and final thoughts about it, and this is what I can ask you guys directly, other than let me know what you think of it, let me know where you think the show's going, is Arcane Season 1 is following mainly Piltover and the story of Vi and Jinx. Obviously, yes, there are other characters involved, Jace, Victor, Heimer, etc., Caitlyn. But what other storyline would you want to see? If this is a success and Riot deems it as this was a good thing to do, let's do a Season 2. Season 2 doesn't have to be also Piltover. Season 2, the show can just be called Arcane, like, easily. I think the official name might be Into the Arcane, so I don't know. But Arcane. Arcane is just magic. You could do Arcane Season 2, and a few of the ideas that we had today on stream, I think some of the favourites were old Shurima, so ancient Shurima of the war behind Nasus and Renekton, Azir's ascension, Zereth being obviously kind of cocooned into not letting his power escape. Obviously Severe and Rammus would be there. That would be a very interesting setting. We don't get too many Egypt kind of feeling shows, so that would be interesting. Personally, I think the most obvious one that they could easily get into would be the Noxus versus Demacia war, with also the mage kind of aspect to that. Because obviously Piltover is also like kind of toying with that Heimer's not really wanting magic involved. There's the fear of magic, and obviously that's what Demacia is all about. They're very scared of magic, and that's, you also could bring Silas into that series, obviously being the locked up anti-mage, or mage himself. Other ones though, but the one thing I will say about the Demacian versus Noxus war, it could be airing on a little bit too similar to Warcraft. I don't know. But you've got obviously the pirate storylines you could do the Yordle storylines, and that, again, final thing, actually, I've probably said final thing about 3 times. The final thing to land on, by the way, is they have changed the lore in little pieces here or there. Like, a great example that some people were talking about were Heimer. So Heimer is a Yordle, and in the lore-wise, Yordles have been feared. People don't like Yordles. They are scared of them like they are scared of magic. But Heimer is not feared at all, and he's not using something called glamour. Glamour is a magic that Yordles use to disguise themselves as normal humans so they can kind of live in society. Heimer is not using that. He is fully open as the head of the academy as a Yordle. So obviously they've changed something there in the lore, or gotten rid of that, or this potentially is before the events that Yordles are then feared. But it probably isn't. Like, this is about 10 or so years before League of Legends' lore, or the lore that's in League, so it's not that too far ahead of time. And then the final thing is, people have said, is that mage Rise? I thought the mage that saved Jason, his mum, was Rise also. Apparently it isn't. One, Necreech says it isn't, so that's probably true, but he's not blue. So Rise at this time would definitely have been Blue Man. Again, he, I think, originally wasn't blue, but when he got into like the runic powers, he turned blue. He would 100% would be Blue Rise by this point, or saving Jace as a young boy, like 15 years before that. He would have been blue by then. He's been blue for ages. So it was not Rise. That was just a different mage. But yeah, let me know what you think of the show. Throw a like on the video if you appreciate the video. I don't know how well I did. I've never really done a video like this before. I don't know if I should have structured it a bit differently. I've just kind of been riffing here and having fun. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Hopefully you enjoy just talking about it openly in the comments, because I know all of us, even on stream and probably in other comment section, you've got to be a bit careful. You don't want to spoil it for people. But in this comment section, go for it. You have permission by me to talk about it openly in the comments, and if you're watching the comments and you haven't watched it yet, it's your own fault. So I'll say that. But anyway, that's going to be it. If you guys enjoy, throw a like on it, throw a comment, throw a subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.
Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace, restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal